Hello, hello, and welcome to the Jeff Finch Experiment. Once again, I'm with Joe Statzer.
Sup?
And we were hanging out all day today. We were swimming with the kids and got to talking and chatting and thought we'd come up with a couple things to record to talk about since we were, talking.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, something I've been wanting to talk about with you, but we haven't really had a chance to discuss it at all, is the new Harry Potter book. And in a previous podcast, we had mentioned that we had read the book and that it's a play. And the book is written as such. It's written as a script to the play, but we didn't really sit down and delve into the story and all that. So anybody who hasn't read it and doesn't want spoiled, this is your chance to not shut it off, but fast forward because I need the views. So don't shut it off.
Don't shut the shit off.
So anyway, well, just all around, what did you think of the book? And, give a quick synopsis of what it's about, and we'll discuss it.
As I said last time, I read the book in 2 damn days.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a kid's book, but, I mean...
It was still like 300-something pages.
Yeah, and I suck at reading, so it was...
And we have kids. It makes it tough.
Yeah. And I really liked it. Like, I couldn't put it down. But I was like that with all the other Harry Potter books, too.
Yeah.
It was like, they were just so good.
Yeah, when I got into them, it was like I was binge reading. Like how people binge Netflix, I was binge reading the Harry Potter books. And I was a person who had actually seen all the movies before ever reading a book.
I actually watched all the way up until the 7th movie. And when it ended, I was like, all right, I got to know what happens in the next part. So I read the 7th book, found out what happened in the 8th movie, and then went back and reread all the other books.
And of course, they ended up changing some of the key facts from the last book in the movie. Like, like how the wand, what happens to the Elder Wand, like stuff like. I guess it's not really that detrimental to the story. I mean, the story is basically the same, but
yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. What I did was, I didn't get into the Harry Potter series until I think like the 4th movie had come out, and I which one? That's Goblet of Fire. So like, I remember being at my sister's house one day, and she's like, "Have you ever watched Harry Potter?" I'm like, "Nah," but I've been thinking about getting into it, and we sat around, and she had the movie on DVD, like it had just come out. On DVD, so we watched it, and I was like, dude, this is pretty good. So I went home and purchased the first 4 movies on DVD, like the next day at Walmart.
That's when they start really getting good.
That's when they get, yeah, it's serious, really.
Yeah.
Like, because the first 2 movies are, and the books are the same way. The first 2 books and movies are more geared towards the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there's dark elements to it, but the 3rd book, when Sirius Black is introduced and the whole scenario around, you find out that Wormtail sold out Harry's parents.
Yeah.
It gets pretty dark, but then the 4th movie gets real dark because that's when Cedric dies. And Voldemort comes back. And that whole scene in the graveyard at the end is so good on the movies. Like, I was absolutely hooked.
The new book touches back on that.
Yeah, it does. And that's, kind of come back to that. That's what I love about the Cursed Child, the new book, or play, if you will, is that there's a lot of time turning going on. And the basic premise is, it picks up right at the very tail end of Deathly Hallows, where our hero, Harry, and his family, he's married to Ginny, and they have 3 kids, are on the platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station, about to send his kids off to Hogwarts. That's where the books leave off. That's where the new one starts.
And it's I can't remember his name. Harry's kid.
Albus?
Yeah, Albus's first year.
Yes, and he's Harry's second child. I think, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They have an older child. I can't think of the kid's name. Oh, his dad's name. What the hell is Harry's dad? James. And then Albus, and then they have a young daughter as well, but she's not really in the book. They mention her a few times, but she doesn't really have any major parts or anything.
No, I don't think so.
And then, of course, Ron Weasley...
Well, no, she does, because what's-his-face is like in love with her.
Scorpius.
Yeah, Scorpius.
Scorpius would be Draco Malfoy's son. Oh, yeah, I guess... No, Rose, right? Is that the girl's name?
I think so, yeah.
I thought Rose was Hermione's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Hermione and Ron get married and also have children, and Rose is their daughter. And yeah, I mean, Rose is mentioned here and there, and there's a couple conversations, but she's not she's not even really a supporting character. Like, she shows up maybe 10 times throughout the whole book, but never really does or says too much.
Until she doesn't show up.
Until she doesn't show up, and that's part of the whole thing. Like, you and I were kind of making fun of, like, the 1985 timeline thing with Back to the Future in the last...
Yeah,
a lot of that happens in this book, where they keep time turning to go back into the past, and I don't want to give away too much of the story, but...
we said spoiler alert.
Yeah, I understand, but, like, you know, it's... Without explaining and fleshing out the whole story, it's tough to understand, like, some of the stuff that's going on. But basically, they go back in time at some point to try to prevent Cedric Diggory from dying.
Yeah.
And in doing that, there's a whole chain of events that happens that ends up changing the current, quote, present, the future, but now in the present. And then they keep having to go back and try to correct the mistakes they made in the past, and it keeps snowballing. And it gets to the point where they come to like a quote alternate timeline where Voldemort never is killed. He wins.
Yeah.
And like it's actually really cool. Like that timeline's really good.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because like
Sirius is still alive. Not Sirius.
Professor Snape. Yeah, Snape. Severus. Yeah. Yeah, and it's pretty cool. And I thought the story in general was really good. I really liked the story, and they did a nice job of continuing a lot of the basic themes from the original Harry Potter series. Obviously, they're at Hogwarts.
And of course, they do Polyjuice Potion.
Yeah, they have to do Polyjuice. You know what? That was a, what's the word I'm looking for? An inconsistency, I thought. In the book, or in The Cursed Child, I should say, they create Polyjuice Potion at one point to turn into somebody else. The voices
changed.
Their voices changed. That was one. But I can't remember if their voices change in the books. In the movies, they don't.
In the movies, they don't.
In the movies, they definitely don't.
I don't think they do.
I can't remember 100% sure.
They're right next to you if you want to go through them.
Oh, yeah. All 7 books are right next to me. Holy cow. Hold on. Let's see. Chamber of Secrets had Polyjuice, right? Let's check that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the consistency I had was I specifically remember from the Chamber of Secrets, the first time they make Polyjuice Potion in the original Harry Potter series, it takes like a month for the potion to be made.
Yep.
But it seems like in this book, and unless I missed it and I don't think they time turn around it, they make Polyjuice Potion pretty much like during the course of a day. In the book, it seems like they make the Polyjuice Potion, it seems like during the course of a day or overnight or something like that, and they use it to transform into other folks to, you know, pretty much manipulate what's going on in the past. Long story short, they end up meeting in the, quote, present, they end up meeting Amos Diggory, who's the father of Cedric Diggory. Cedric obviously dies in the maze in Goblet of Fire, and that's what sparks the whole thing with Voldemort coming back and whatnot, or it's part of that anyway. They go back and they decide it's a great injustice that Cedric died, and Albus and Scorpius, who are the sons of Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy, they feel that this would make the future a much better place. Of course they were wrong. So they have to keep going back to try to keep their own actions from happening in different ways, and it ends up snowballing, it gets all screwed up, and at the very end, it's actually quite sad at the end. I mean, our heroes end up winning, so to speak, but they ended up, like, back in Godric's Hollow the night that Harry's parents were killed. And when that all happens, and Harry and Hermione and Ron are there too, they all time turn to that particular point in time, and they have to replay that whole thing with Harry's parents dying, and Harry's actually there to witness it, and it's sad, man. It was pretty sad.
So back to the inconsistency of the Polyjuice Potion.
Yeah,
I just googled that shit, and it actually says in the Goblet of Fire, they do the Polyjuice Potion, and they don't have the voice, but on the Deathly Hallows, they all do the Polyjuice Potion, and they all have Harry's voice.
Oh, that's right, because there was the 7 Harrys, the 7 Harry Potters.
Yeah.
And that's true. In the movie, they did all have Harry's voice, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that's a loophole, everybody. We found a Harry Potter loophole. Of course, this has probably been studied for years, and people know about it. But
yeah, and there's a whole bunch of forums on it and shit. But
yeah, Harry Potter, the whole Harry Potter universe is like so heavily involved on the internet, and like, there's a Harry Potter wiki. Have you ever checked it out? Is that what you're looking at right now? It's excellent. Like, sometimes if I get really bored and, like, I get into these moods where, like, I'll think about Harry Potter and I'll decide, you know what, I need to watch the movies or read the book or whatever. And sometimes if I don't have the time to do all that, I might just pop on the Harry Potter wiki and just, like, read random articles. And you learn so much about the series and it helps you to get even more into it. Like, it's really cool.
We had a whole bunch of shit to talk about.
We could talk more about podcasting.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about your friends.
Yeah, I've got a couple friends who are showing interest in podcasting. One of them is my friend Matt, who I've mentioned before on my podcasts. He has a podcast called Nerd Talk Radio, or Nerd Talk FM. Elite FM Nerd Talk Radio, thank you. He's gonna be jacked that I couldn't remember it. But anyway, it's pretty good. I'll link it in the YouTube, and I've linked it on my last couple videos. He and I are actually going to hook up tomorrow via Skype and do some recording together. We are probably going to do 2 separate recordings, one for his show, one for my show. What's really cool is this dude lives in Labrador, Canada, which is like 1,500 miles north of here.
Yeah.
Like, where it's really cold all the time. You know what I mean? And, you know, he has a bit of a Canadian accent when he talks, you know, or something like that. My accent's not good.
Was that a boot?
Was that a boot? Yeah. He goes to bed and catches some Zeds. And they put gravy on their French fries, which is actually delicious.
Yeah, gravy on your French fries.
Gravy is pretty good. I don't understand why that's just a Canadian thing. Poutine, right?
I didn't think it was. I do that shit all the time.
Yeah, it is good. That's supposed to be like, that's like a Canadian stereotype, is that they put maple syrup on everything and they put gravy on
I knew the maple syrup one. I didn't know anything about the gravy.
Maple syrup is also delicious, though. Like, that doesn't have to just be a Canadian thing. I mean, Christ, where we live out here, we have a maple syrup festival at Brady's Run Park.
Sugar? Is there sugar in syrup? Yes.
They get that syrup in them, they get all antsy in the pantsy. Super Troopers is the best.
Oh, they're making a second one.
Yeah, I know.
I'm pretty pumped about that.
They just started filming it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw something on Facebook the other day. I saw a video of Kevin Heffernan, who plays Farva. And he was like talking shit on a couple of the other guys. It was really funny. But yeah, evil shenanigans. Talking about my friend Matt. So we're going to do a little recording. What's funny is I've known Matt for at least 10 years. I want to say like maybe 12 years through the wonders that is the internet. And he has a couple other Canadian friends too. We all met on a forum.
Canadian,
eh? We met on an internet forum back when forums were the social media, before there was Facebook and Twitter and MySpace and all that stuff.
Yeah, he said he was meeting a bunch of guys.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We all know about Jeff.
Well, you know, I can't help it, man. I'm sexy. And the men know it. You know, it's not my fault I'm pulling people from both sexes. You know what I mean?
I'm sexy, yeah.
Anyway, as you could guess by the name of his podcast, Nerd Talk Radio, that he's more of a computer game, book reading, comic book, movie nerd kind of guy, which is right up our alley because that's what we are.
Right.
But this dude's like very, very into it, and his knowledge of nerd culture is way beyond mine. I consider myself to be a lot more broad in trivia and knowledge, not as specialized. Although it seems like all the podcasts I've done so far, with maybe the exception of one I did with Ryan, have been mostly nerd culture based anyway.
That's the way it should be.
Well, I mean, you and Nick are both kind of nerds, and makes for good conversation. And it's okay because I learned something new every time.
But you know what? I really enjoyed the one with you and Ryan.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one, I thought.
It was good.
I'd like to be perfectly honest, not to toot my own horn. I've thought all my podcasts so far have been pretty good.
You're tooting your own horn.
Yeah, right. But what I mean is, like, it seems like it can be entertaining to people that like the sort of things we like.
Yeah, I think that we have listened to our own podcast more than, like, anybody else has.
Oh, no doubt. I've listened to all of my podcasts probably 10 times a piece at least. Of course, a lot of that has to do with editing.
Well, yeah,
I go back and listen to it and edit.
Like, I've gone back and listened to, like, the two that we've done like 3 times, and like I cracked myself. Like, I'm laughing on my ass off at that one with you and Nick.
That was the most fun I had doing a podcast for sure.
Yeah, that was a blast.
That's the only one that I've done with 3 people.
I can't wait to get Pat.
Yeah, that was another thing.
I'd like to jump on that.
Our friend Pat of Patrick Teaches the World. He's the guitar teacher who I've mentioned before. Actually got a hold of me today and was like, "Hey, man, you know, I was thinking about doing the podcast thing with you. It would be fun to try." He didn't
come up today.
Well, you know, he had stuff going.
Whatever, homo.
He's probably teaching guitar lessons, or that's how he makes his money.
Parenting,
or parenting. Yeah, because he has a young child as well. Yeah. Stupid parents and their kids and having responsibilities.
Gosh, I mean, we're down here. Girls are up there.
Right. Well, yeah. That's That's because we're bad parents. That's the difference between us and bad. But it's just cool that I'm finally getting people on board with the idea of just sitting around and talking, because like, for instance, Pat, he's a guy who's really cool, and like me and him could sit down and talk for hours about all kinds of stuff, and we never thought, you know, in the years we've known each other, to like record it. And I'm not saying that every conversation is going to be an A, but you know.
Oh, every conversation's an A.
That's true. It's because I'm a rambler.
Yeah, every conversation's.
But yeah, he mentioned to me today that he thought it would be fun to sit around with a couple of guys, and I don't know, maybe have a few beers.
He would think that.
Yeah, he would.
Sitting around with a couple of guys.
Yeah, he wants to do a podcast circle jerk. Oh, what movie is? Oh, Zack and Miri.
Zack and Miri,
yeah. Yeah, they mentioned the Dutch rudder, or the double Dutch rudder, where you know. For those that don't know what the Dutch rudder is, basically it's if you have your hand wrapped around your man parts and somebody grabs your arm and maneuvers your arm to a jerking motion, that is the Dutch rudder.
It's not gay because you're just shaking hands.
Totally not gay. It's just two guys shaking hands. That's all it is.
Shaking hands.
And then the double Dutch rudder is when two guys are doing that to each other at the same time.
Hysterical.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting, but it's hysterical.
But you know, that's Kevin Smith for you, and that's how his movies are, and that's what makes him so hilarious.
We digress like hell. What the hell
we were talking about podcasting with Matt, my friend Matt. Anyway, yeah, so Matt's gonna Skype me tomorrow, and I'm gonna record it. It's gonna be fun, and we're probably gonna do two conversations. One that's more of a general discussion about whatever it is we want to talk about, and that would be
kind of like
recording
we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's my style. I mean, that's what I'm good at, because I know I tend to talk about. I'll talk about anything. It doesn't matter. But then I think we're gonna have more of a air quotes nerd discussion for his podcast as well. And I don't know, I'm gonna have to ask him, but he actually has two other guys with him. He has three people on his podcast, and that's their regular thing. He doesn't do you know, a different guest every time or the same guest multiple times like I do for the most part.
That's because nobody else wants to talk to you.
Nobody wants to talk to me.
Nobody wants to talk to you.
No, they're like, Jeff, this is dumb. Why do you do this?
I like
and then they
talking to
listen to it, and they're like, hey, Jeff, it sounds really good. I'm like, well, come on and talk. And people are like,
no. I don't want like people to hear me.
Exactly.
See, I don't care. If people hear me because people don't like me anyway.
Well, and you're an attention whore, and you want all the attention you can get as well.
Right. I mean,
I am. I'll admit it. I don't give a shit.
Just a whore, baby.
In every way possible.
Yeah.
Whore. He's a whore. But yeah, that's gonna be
quit
fun.
talking. I want to talk.
Okay. Go ahead, talk. I'm waiting.
What the shit, man? I was just trying to be an attention whore.
Oh man.
You know, I've been trying to like contain myself and like burp over here, like so I don't interrupt your damn.
Yeah, well, notice how I didn't burp until you stopped talking, though.
Whatever.
I'm trying to time a burp. So when you're talking,
you were trying to time a burp. Of course, last time I just got up and pissed.
Yeah, that's right. You walked away.
Like, you know what? I'm gonna take a piss.
And what was funny is whenever you took that piss, because like. Your bathroom's here in the basement. It's just right on the other side of the room, and you could hear it clear as day if you're sitting in like the couch area.
It's not in a room. It's just like
it's like in the corner of the basement on the other side of the basement
with like some weird stall looking.
And
thing.
It's we were in the middle of recording that podcast with Nick, and I could hear you so plainly in my headphones when you were pissing. But for some reason, and I didn't cut out any background noise on that particular podcast because it really wasn't a whole lot that got picked up. For some reason, it didn't really pick up as well. It
sounds like there's a lot coming today, though.
Yeah, this is how it sounded the last time we did this down here too. Yeah, I mean, we could hear like yelling and crying and stuff upstairs, and some of it would pick up, but not a lot of it. So I don't know why or how, but that's good because anytime you don't have to cut something out, it makes the quality of the podcast better because then you're not using effects and all that bull crap.
Dude, I'm pissed about Ronda Rousey not coming back.
When's that? So what's the deal there? Like I haven't really read anything into that. I haven't seen anything.
All I've
about
heard
her not
is she's supposed to be back on
like UFC 205 or
205,
something, which would be not the one coming up next, but the following one.
Yeah, and
so that
she's
would be
not
like
coming
October.
back. November, I think, is what
November.
they said, yeah.
Okay, that sounds about right.
And she's not coming back then, and I don't know why.
Dude, it kills me that she doesn't want to come back so soon because like. Someone who has such a killer instinct like that, and it's not just in fighting. I mean, it's in any sport. I mean, look at football players or something who get hurt or whatever. They want to come back in.
Yeah, that's what I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had Misha Tate on there. I think even after she lost, her belt, and she was saying like, I don't understand. Like, I respect Ronda. I mean, we're not good friends, but I respect Ronda.
Obviously, because Ronda whooped her ass.
Yeah, a few times. And she's like, and like me, if I were to get beat, I'd want to get right back in there. But
Right.
Ronda wants to take like a year off or something.
Well, you know what, though? I mean, I wonder if a lot of it's business as well, because Ronda, before that Holly Holm fight when she got beat, she was the biggest star in UFC. Mm-hmm. You know, and not just the biggest female star, the biggest star at that time. Her last couple fights really amped up her celebrity. And now you're seeing her, she's done commercials, she's filming a movie, and I wonder if that's what's doing it.
She's done a couple movies.
Right, and, you know, maybe her star power, I don't want to say it's like building her ego at all. What I mean to say is she's getting busy doing that sort of thing and putting off fighting.
Two that I know of that were already out are Expendables 3.
Right, which she's not in it like a whole lot or anything, is she? I haven't seen it.
Is
it a cameo?
I've watched
Like,
it
is
a
she
while.
in it
No,
for a
she's
minute
in
or-
it. She's in it for a little, but I can't remember, like, because it was a while since I
Yeah.
watched it, like almost 2 years or something. And then the other one was the Fast and the Furious 7.
I think that's the latest one. It's 7.
Yeah, that she was in that, and she's just in that for a few minutes.
Is that the one that was Paul Walker's last one, where he he filmed half of it and they ended up like having to cut?
I think he
and splice?
filmed more than half of it, because
He died during the filming.
The only scene that I can see that they like, you know, they said that like, they took his brother's face and her body and like morphed his face, and you could really tell that in one scene as the last scene where like they're saying goodbye to each other.
They must not be doing a good job if you can notice it, because like, you know, if you watch, for instance, I always bring up Game of Thrones, but like, you know, they had that one scene last season where Cersei had to walk through the city naked, and it was not her body naked.
I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell. Like, they did such a good job with the CGI to where her face, I mean, it looked perfect. And the only reason that I didn't realize it wasn't actually... Yeah, exactly. That's true. Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention to her face. We were looking at the rest of that sweet body. But you read afterwards, you know, like the next day it come out all over Facebook. There's Joe cracking a Mountain Dew on like two centimeters away from the microphone.
Real next to the microphone.
Right. It's like...
Hello.
But all I'm saying is the technology is there. I mean, they can do the technology to where it can look so good that you can't tell now, with the CGI and the morphing of the faces or whatever you want to call it. And really, like, even with your phone, you could do face swaps now that are so good looking. You know what I mean? So, like, if in Fast and the Furious, if it doesn't look that good, if it's so obvious, it makes you wonder, like, who was the guy doing the CG and why did he do such a shitty job? Like, you know what I mean?
Might have been your mom.
No, my mom doesn't do CG.
My mom doesn't do CG.
She prefers... That sounds like a dirty sex thing.
Give me some CG, please.
Want some CG,
When it sounds like a STD. I got CG from freaking Jeff's mom.
Should have worn a condom.
Fuck, she gave me CG.
Dude, speaking of like dirty sex words, have you ever seen the movie Sex Drive?
I don't think so.
Dude, you have to go watch this movie. It come out like, I don't know, like 2008 maybe. There's a couple recognizable people in it, like James Marsden, who plays Cyclops in the X-Men movies.
Okay.
The older X-Men, not like the
not the
past
first
ones.
classes.
Yeah. He plays like the older brother character who's like this total badass, like dirt bike riding dude. But anyway, in that movie, there's a scene where there's this guy and his chick are like banging, and they keep mentioning all these weird sex things. Like, have you ever, like, she like tells the dude, have you ever had a what was it, like a cinnamon blow pop or something like that? And basically she like pops like a big red chewing gum or a peppermint patty or something like that in her mouth, and then gives him a blowy. And then like there's another one where she has him like chained down to the bed. He's like literally tied up. She's standing above him, and this chick, she's like, have you ever had a rolling brownout? And he's like, no, what's that? And like she turns around with her pants off, spreads her butt cheeks, and he just starts screaming, no, nothing brown, nothing brown. And she ends up like shitting all over him or something like that. And like anytime I hear like a phrase like the CG thing, I hear that and I think of it as a dirty sex term. The first thing that always pops in my head is nothing brown, nothing brown.
Nothing brown.
The movie is hysterical, though. Like, it's basically about this kid. He's like 18. He's kind of a loser. And he meets this chick named Miss Tasty on the internet, and she talks him into driving to Kentucky or whatever to meet her. And so this dude, his best buddy, and this chick who's his friend end up going on this drive, you know, and it's just really good. It's funny.
So that actor's name is James
Marsden.
Yeah,
that's what I said.
And I didn't remember you saying his name.
Oh.
But anyway, have you ever seen Death at a Funeral?
No, I've not.
He's in that. And that was the funniest freaking thing. Like, he had me cracking up like I was crying.
You don't think of that guy as a comedic actor.
No, you don't. And he acts like somebody like slips him like a Mickey or something, like some kind of drugs or like what's the E?
Like a roofie or something. Oh, like ecstasy.
Yeah,
or
and
Molly or something.
Holy cow! Like, he plays that so well.
Really?
And it's
so, like, is he like hallucinating and all that?
pretty
shit?
much, yeah. And
Yeah, that sounds like it's pretty
and like
funny.
they're at a funeral.
Yeah.
And like and he's like the only white guy through the like this because he's dating a black girl or he's married to a black girl or something and
So he's definitely out of place. He's a fish out of water.
And
yeah.
it's a funny movie.
In the Sex Drive movie, basically, like, he plays the main character's older brother. Like, the main character's like I said, kind of a nerdy, losery kid, little skinny dude, and then James Marsden is like this tough, like, yelling, screaming, total dickhead, like, just complete asshole, and like every other word out of his mouth is a cuss word, and he is hysterical in this movie. And I'm not going to give away the end because you haven't seen the end, but he ends up being completely different than how we see him at the beginning. But the whole premise of him in the movie is that he owns a 1968 GTO Judge. I think it's a 68 or a 69, like the car, like the Judge, you know? And the kid ends up taking that car with his buddy and his friend who's a girl, not his girlfriend, but his friend who is a girl, on this drive, and just all the shit that goes down is so good. And yeah, James Marsden is very funny in this movie. Very funny.
He doesn't seem like he'd be
No,
funny,
he doesn't.
but
But you know what, though? The only other thing I ever knew him from is X-Men. And there's no comedy in X-Men unless it's Hugh Jackman. Like, he's the only person that says anything funny in those movies, really.
there might be, you know what? I think he does say like one or two funny lines about Logan.
But it's always like a sarcastic, like, because, you know, he's obviously jealous of Logan.
Right.
Because Logan wants to bang his girlfriend.
Who doesn't?
Right.
Right.
What the hell's her name again? Famke Jemison? Her real name, the actress's name.
IMDb.
I'm pretty sure Nick and I got into it during a podcast talking about her, because I was picturing her, but I was thinking of somebody else's name, and he's like, no, dude, it's Famke.
She's
Famke. I can't pronounce it at all. It's one of them.
like,
it's a foreign name. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Please, I apologize if I do not pronounce it right. It looks like Famke, Famke, which is a really strange name.
That's how I'd freaking pronounce it, because I can't read.
All of my nerdy friends are going to listen to this and be like, no, Jeff, it's
No.
Jean, or whatever. Who knows? We just refer to her as Jean Grey. Let's go with that.
Yeah,
Jean Grey.
It's sexy. That woman is hot.
She's a good-looking lady.
That is absolutely a good-looking lady.
I love her in the third X-Men movie.
Looks like she was in GoldenEye.
Yeah, she was. She was, Xenia, I think was the character's name. She was the real crazy bitch. The real crazy dark-haired bitch.
Again, with your mom?
No. My mom's hair isn't dark.
Okay. I'm just saying, Dinker said today is your mom day. So I've been your mom.
Yeah, I got this thing on Facebook yesterday, and you got it too.
Yeah, I haven't seen shit, but that
Our friend Dinker, like, got on there, and he's like, dude, just warning you all right now. Tomorrow, I'm declaring tomorrow as your mom day. And, like, that comment ended up with a few comments between, like, me and Dan and somebody else, like some yo mom stuff. So all day today, I'm, like, expecting to see a bunch of yo mama texts or Facebooks or whatever, and have yet to see any. And I'm very disappointed, Dinker.
Yeah, I'm pretty
very
disappointed. I was like waiting all day, like, all right. And I look at Dinker, and I go, dude, you know who's hotter than both your sisters combined? And he looks at me with a straight face. He's like, who? I go, your mom. Oh. She goes, Joseph, get out.
That was a compliment.
It was so funny.
It isn't like it isn't like you like started like just saying obscene shit to her, like hey, Dinker's mom, I'm gonna do this or that. I'm not gonna get like too nasty, but like it's that's a total compliment. Why would she hate on that?
She was like, get out now. It was so funny.
That's disappointing. That's so good.
It was pretty funny. And you know, here's something else we haven't talked about, and I think we should talk about it. I don't even know if you've seen it, but I'm staring at my movies and I can see Rocky.
Yes.
Creed.
Yeah, I watched it here with you one day.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was really good.
Like it was on par with the Rocky movies. Like,
I felt that it was better than most of the Rocky movies.
You know what? I would tend to agree. I mean,
like, because there's, 7 of them now? There was the original 5, well, the 4 good ones, and then 5, which was terrible.
Yeah,
just
5 was
absolutely
terrible.
That was the one with the street fight with,
And then
what was
there
his name,
was-
Tommy Gunn or whatever.
Tommy Gunn.
And then they did that Rocky Balboa movie.
And then just Rocky.
No, Rocky Balboa. That was the recent one, like 2010 or something like that.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It was.
I thought there was a. I don't know.
You'll have to check it, but anyway, that one I haven't seen. That's the only one I haven't seen. But I remember reading some reviews that it was pretty terrible.
Well,
I think it's called Rocky Balboa. I think it's the name of it. And then, of course, the newest one, Creed, which came out last year, is really good. And I would put it as my 3rd favorite Rocky movie, excluding the one I haven't seen, obviously. To me, Rocky 4 is by best.
Yeah,
by
Rocky,
top, it's totally
Rocky
top.
Balboa 2006.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I mean, granted, he's way older. Like, he's probably in his 60s.
Does he actually fight in that movie?
And he's fighting,
Okay, yeah,
and he's fighting this young actual champ. And you know, maybe they didn't like it because it's a freaking old guy fighting this younger guy, and like that's so.
It just it's off-putting.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, dude, that guy would get his ass whooped
so hard.
But that being said, I don't remember the names, but I watched a UFC fight. No, it was a boxing fight with an older freaking boxer and a younger boxer.
But was he like Stallone old, like 65?
He was probably,
or was he like 45?
He was probably
like,
45.
Yeah. Which is still
but
really
still,
old.
That's
for fighting,
old for boxing. You know.
Of course, you know, George Foreman and Larry Holmes fought in the mid 90s or late 90s when they were like close to 50. I want to say one of them was 50 and the other was 47 or 49 or something. Of course, that was no championship bout, and it's 2 old guys, so it's kind of, I mean, it's somewhat even. It's not like it's a 60-year-old guy fighting a 22-year-old champ.
Speaking of boxing, I don't know who he's fighting, but I saw on Facebook that Pacquiao's coming back.
About time.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Whoever he fights, he's going to destroy, though.
I can't. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. But they won't release the second fight until the first fight's over. So everyone's speculating that it's going to be Mayweather too.
I hope so, because honestly, I think if Pacquiao were to fight Mayweather again, I think Mayweather probably is going to beat him.
Again.
That being said, that first fight of theirs was pretty entertaining. Although I felt that I definitely felt Mayweather won the fight. Like I had no qualms with the way it turned out. Of course, I was rooting for Pacquiao. I mean, I think everybody was rooting for Pacquiao. But then right after the fight, you found out, and I'm pretty sure it was that night we found out.
Except for Kelly. Kelly wasn't rooting for Pacquiao, and I'm not going to say any last names, but he took freaking $20 off of me.
Jag off. But yeah, it was released after that fight that Pacquiao had hurt his shoulder in training.
Might have been 10, but
wasn't 100%. And
which is bullshit. You say that shit before the fight, not after the fight.
Well, no, you don't, because if you don't want to release to the other guy,
don't say that shit at all if you're not going to say it.
I disagree.
Because now it
sounds like he's crying, like he's copping out. No, I understand why you say that.
My shoulder hurts, so that's why I lost.
No, I understand that, and that's why I think Mayweather really should offer him, if he hasn't already, if it's not already on the books, Mayweather needs to offer him a rematch to save face for himself, because
not even save face for himself, just make more money.
It was not only that
was like one of the highest grossing fights in
ever
all time. Yeah,
it was the highest grossing fight ever.
Now, because of the does that count UFC fights?
I'm pretty sure it counts pay-per-view events. I'm pretty sure it was the highest rated and the highest money pay-per-view event ever.
Wasn't it the last one, though? The McGregor fight was pretty high.
It was probably the highest UFC, but I can't imagine it had the kind of pull that the Pacquiao fight had.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, even if they had the same amount of viewers, the Pacquiao fight was $20 more. So there was a ton more money there.
Yeah, a lot more money.
As great as the UFC is, it doesn't have the international impact that boxing does, especially because it's Manny Pacquiao. I mean, he's the most famous fighter on the planet, and well, still fighting fighter on the planet, and he has his whole fucking. Well, Mayweather's very popular, but he's American. So, like, Pacquiao, he has that international thing, and he's very well renowned. And it's not a knock on Mayweather, because Mayweather's obviously an unbelievable fighter. I mean, he's got the greatest record ever.
Right.
But Pacquiao has that whole goddamn country behind him, with Philippines, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to vote him as the president of the Philippines. Like, he's so popular there. You know, I am willing to bet if they have the numbers, if they haven't been released or whatever, it's got to be like probably 95% of the population probably watched that pay-per-view live. Think about that.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I don't know how many people live in the Philippines. Not nearly as many as America, but it's crazy.
That documentary that came out right before the Mayweather fight.
I caught a little bit of that here and there, yeah.
They said that, like, crime stops.
Yeah, because everybody's busy fucking watching him fight.
Everything's on hold. Like, business is shut down. Everyone's watching the fight.
Absolutely. And he has a huge following in like Latin America as well. So
I'll have to ask the girl I work with, because she's from the Philippines.
Oh yeah, that's right. You mentioned that to me before. But
she gets me awesome candy from the Philippines.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good.
What's so good about it? Like, what's it taste like?
It's like orange, and it's like menthol. It's orange menthol.
So you like that cooling feel in your mouth?
It's so good.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like addicting. Like,
give me some of that.
If I don't eat it all before when she gives it
Save
to me.
me one piece, you fucking pig.
Dude, like, she literally handed me a bag of it, and it was gone by, like, the end of the day.
The next time you get some, take one piece, wrap it in, like, some foil or something, put it in your fucking wallet, and forget about it.
Put it in my wallet.
And then bring it home. And then, of course, you'll call me, but I got a piece of this candy. You want to try it? And I'll come over, and you've already been eating it.
You do literally live right down the road from where I work, so I could just, like...
You could just call me, and I can just come up and get some.
Like, hey, dude, come up and get this, like, real fast.
That's funny.
The nice Filipino lady. Dude, she cracked me up today at work.
Yeah?
Yeah, like, I smashed my finger or something, and, like, I'm like, ow, son of a bitch, like, you know, just freaking out real quick. And she looked at me and goes, what the fuck are you doing?
Now, does she have, like, a thick accent?
Yes.
I'll bet it was hilarious.
I just busted up laughing. Like, I almost peed myself. I was laughing.
Meanwhile, your finger, like, is practically falling off, and you're just laying there cracking up.
Like, she just looked at me like, what the fuck are you doing? And she, like, doesn't swear. Like, and I was just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
That's awesome.
Like, I died.
That's good stuff. I didn't get to finish what I was talking about with the Rocky movies. So, like, I was just kind of saying, like, obviously Creed. I thought Creed was really good. I really liked it. And the basic premise of that is Apollo Creed's estranged son ends up going into boxing, and Rocky Balboa ends up finding him and managing him and all that stuff. And the best thing about the movie is the fact that Rocky doesn't fight at all. You see him help out with the training and stuff, which is cool, but he doesn't actually have a match.
Well, that's a good thing in that fight, or in that movie, I mean. But in... Rocky V, that was one of the worst parts of the movie, is that he wasn't fighting.
No, he didn't fight until the very end. He had a street fight with Tommy, and it was just fucking stupid. Like, okay, well, Rocky V, we'll just agree that that's the worst Rocky movie.
Absolutely the worst Rocky movie.
By far. But, that being said, like, I didn't think the story was all that terrible, but the guy who played Tommy Gunn is probably the worst actor I've ever seen. He was so bad.
Really close to being the worst actor.
He was so... I mean, outside of, like, B movies. I mean, like, in a major motion picture with serious studio funding.
I don't know, man.
They could have freaking got somebody better than that.
Anakin, man.
Which one? Young Anakin?
Both.
Or you didn't like either one of them?
Yeah, both young Anakins were, you know, the
kid.
The kid, and then that whiny fucking jackass.
Yeah. Hayden Christensen, I think, is his name.
Yeah. No, he's a good actor. I did not like him as Anakin Skywalker.
I don't know him in anything else other than that movie. There was like one other movie I saw him in.
Life is a House, I believe, is one of them.
Never even heard of that.
It's a pretty decent movie. He does a pretty good job in that.
I felt that Hayden Christensen was fucking terrible as Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like, but I will say this. His look and his physical ability was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was awesome in the fight scenes. When he wasn't speaking, he was good.
Just like your mom.
Exactly. Because got a lightsaber jammed in her mouth.
Does she listen to these? I sure hope not.
I sure hope not. If she does, she would rip your balls off.
I'm so sorry, Mom.
But, anyway, yeah, like, physically, he was wonderful. But, like, if he wasn't talking, he was really good. But, yeah, if he spoke. As for in Phantom Menace with the young kid, I do not know the actor's name. Jake something, I think. I think it is, like, Jake something or other.
I didn't like him.
But it was excusable because he's like 8 years old or 10 years old. And, like, there aren't a whole lot of actors that age.
If you say that, then you got to look at, Sixth Sense.
Oh yeah, Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah, freaking fantastic actor, and he's
But
young.
he is a legendary kid actor, though. Like, he was in a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time and was really, really good. This kid was in Phantom Menace and literally nothing else. That being said, I still felt I liked him. I thought he was okay. I don't think they could have found anybody who could have done that part much better than he did at that particular moment in time. But the actor in Rocky V was fucking terrible. That's where I'm getting at.
Right.
And Rocky IV was the best Rocky. Like, that's the one where he
Rocky
goes...
IV, absolutely.
Yeah, it's one where he fights the Russian.
I break you.
I must break you. Ivan Drago, played by... we had this conversation recently. Like, what the fuck is that dude's name?
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren, thank you.
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren.
He-Man.
He-Man.
Yeah, he played He-Man in Masters of the Universe in 1989, I want to say.
You know, I remember you telling me about that, but I hadn't seen the live-action movie.
By the way, that kid's name is Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd, yep. Mm-hmm. He just recently... I saw him in the news recently. Like, he, checked himself into rehab or something. That movie ruined his life. Because he got made fun of so hard growing up over that movie.
I bet.
And,
because he was fucking terrible.
I wouldn't even say that. Just being in a Star Wars movie would be pretty tough for a kid. I mean, because that movie did not live up to the hype.
It did not.
And I remember when that came out, and everybody was all about that movie. And,
the second one was a little better, and the third one was way better.
I feel the same way. I think Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars. But that being said, I don't think it's a terrible movie. And I think that second trilogy, episodes 1 through 3, takes more flack than it really deserves. Because the stories are wonderful.
Well, yeah, all the Star Wars stories are wonderful. And
right.
You know what? There's a lot of people putting down Force Awakens.
Those people are all morons.
I know. Force Awakens was really good. And
I will
complaining because it's too much like the originals. Well, yeah, duh.
I see that argument only because, and I actually thought this. I remember when I went and saw it live. Saw it I saw it live. It was awesome.
What's with you and not knowing what live is?
I don't know. I'm stupid. I host a Facebook Live thing. You would think I know what live means, right?
Right.
No, what I mean to say is when I saw it the first time in the theater, I remember sitting next to my wife and kind of whisper chatting with her a little bit, and they do follow the storyline of the original Star Wars movie so close in that movie. I mean, think about it. Something happens, okay, at the very beginning. There's a fight, okay?
Something happens.
Basically, the whole
movie's
premise...
over. Something happens.
Something happens. It's done. And then they were standing on Tatooine, and there's 2 suns. But, no. I mean, think about it. A mysterious person who we come to find out is actually a Jedi is abandoned, orphaned, left on a sandy desert planet.
Yeah.
A droid shows up that has a map of some sort.
Yeah.
The bad guys... It was the Imperial Intergalactic Empire, and then in the new one, it's the First Order.
First Order, yeah.
Come looking for said droid. Battles ensue, and then they escape in the fucking Millennium Falcon. It happened in both movies. And that's just the first half an hour. It's 100% true, so I see why people are pissed off about it.
Yeah, I get it.
But at the same time, when you're watching that movie, when you see The Force Awakens the first time, especially if you're a big Star Wars fan... Yes, it's the same, but at the same time, it's oh my god, it's so awesome. And that scene when fucking Han and Chewie show up on the Millennium Falcon and you first see them, chills, dude, chills. They come in, they're like, oh,
we're home.
We're home. It's so good. It's so good.
Back to Masters of the Universe real quick. It came out in 1987, not 89.
Okay.
All right. And
which I think would have been a year or two after the Rocky IV. I think it came out in 85.
So you've never seen...
quick with the IMDb. That's good.
You've never seen Masters of the Universe? Rocky what for?
Yeah. I'm not the biggest He-Man fan. I liked the cartoon. It was a little before my time.
85.
85?
Yeah.
I was right. The He-Man cartoon was good.
I love the He-Man cartoon.
I liked it, but I didn't love it. But it wasn't my top.
Cartoon.
And that's really strange because I'm a huge fan of fantasy and stuff, and you would think it'd be something I was into. But for some reason, that cartoon just didn't sit well with me as a kid. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love it.
My favorite, I think, I love the cartoon, but I think my favorite He-Man moment or whatever is the He-Man She-Ra movie where his sister shows up.
Haven't seen it.
What the fuck is wrong with you? What kind of nerd are you?
I've never claimed to be a hardcore nerd in general. I just dabble in nerdiness.
I claim that, but I'm not really
Oh, you got me beat.
When there's something I need to know, I get a hold of Scott.
Oh yeah, our friend Scott, he's hardcore, and I can remember he and I have always been friends. We weren't really great friends, but we did share.
Did I tell you that?
Oh no, you didn't.
Yeah, he said he'd be back around like October-ish, I think. October, November.
I haven't seen him since high school. I don't think I've seen him once since high school.
I've seen him a couple times.
I mean, I chat with him on Facebook occasionally, and I mean very occasionally. Or not. What I mean to say is not very often.
not very occasionally.
But that being said, yeah, right. English much? That being said, Scott and I were friends in high school, and we shared a lot of classes. We sat next to each other and bullshit a lot.
You know what?
And
I'm thinking
Star Wars
he
and
would
Lord of the
love to
Rings
get
are what we
into
would talk
some
about.
podcasting.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
I'm sure he would love it.
He's probably the most intelligent guy I ever met, and like, you know,
absolutely,
yeah. And so he would definitely be wonderful for this sort of thing. That's a good idea. I'm going to shoot him up on Facebook. Maybe I'll just tag him in the Facebook video for this whenever it comes out.
And you can just listen to us talking about.
And I'll be like, "Hey Scott, we were talking about you." Yeah.
Put that in the description. Talk about Scott. Blank.
And then when he starts commenting with his last freaking name on Facebook, because your first and last name is on there, people be like, "Oh, that's the guy.
That's the guy.
That's him.
That's him.
That's him. That's the nerd." Jeff said he was the smartest man on the planet. I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions now. And then he gets bombarded with Jeopardy trivia or something stupid.
Trivia.
Scott, what do you know about potpourri?
And he becomes Ken Jennings.
Right. That would be awesome. All right, dude, let's wrap this up. It's getting really late and I'm tired.
All right.
This was a fun conversation.
All right. I want you to write some shit down real fast after we close, because I thought of something.
Clicking the pen.
For next conversations,
Writing.
talk about famous people we've met.
Famous people we've met. Like who?
Dean fucking Cain.
Oh yeah, you met Dean Cain, who was TV's Superman.
And we've also met Mini-Me, whatever his name was.
Troyer.
Vern
Yep.
Troyer.
I've seen that photo.
And
that's funny because I watched Austin Powers 2 today. Excuse me, I burped. The Spy Who Shagged Me. The second movie. The
really, really bad looking. No, he looked terrible. Like he looked sick.
I don't know exactly what the name of his particular brand of dwarfism is, but from what I've seen before, like I don't remember, some documentary or something, he was on there, and he has one of the forms that is the worst, because if you ever looked at him, anybody that hasn't seen him, check out some pictures on Google. He's one of the ones that's so small that it deforms a lot of his body, and he's not proportionate and all that. And it's hard to tell when he's like in Mini-Me costume or whatever. But he is actually quite old for somebody to have that. Like a lot of people who are his age who have that don't make it to his age, I should say. His particular brand of dwarfism is like really hard to...
Didn't like Joe C have something like that too?
Yeah, he died. Yeah, he was only like 26 years old or something like that. He had, I don't know if he had the same type, because believe it or not,
he was pretty small.
There's different. It's not just about your height. There's a lot to it. Like has a lot to do with like your proportions. Because there are little people who are perfectly proportioned. Like they don't have the little tiny sausage fingers or the weird
huge.
Yeah. Just suddenly I thought of Peter Dinklage in the one scene on Game of Thrones the dude was threatening to cut off his cock. And he's like, how would they know that it's a dwarf's cock? And the dude's like, because it would be a dwarf-sized cock. And he's like, guess again. Yeah. And then he ends up talking himself out of it. He ends up living. They don't kill him. So good. Peter Dinklage, my favorite all-time small person.
Willow, dude.
Oh yeah. What the hell's his name? Yeah, he played Willow. He played Professor Flitwick in Harry Potter.
He played a couple of things in Harry Potter.
He played the goblins, like in the bank. Oh, I can't. Yeah, you have to IMDb it because I feel bad. I can't think of the guy's name. Warwick Davis. Yep, Davis. That's the one. He's awesome, and Willow's a good movie too.
Another famous person I met was LeVar Burton,
Geordie,
and
also of Reading Rainbow and Kunta Kinte.
Disappointed.
We'll just exit right there because we said we were going to talk about people we met on the next podcast. And somehow we're managing to just whip it all out on the table on this one. So
your mom said the same thing.
And that ends Your Mom Day. The worst Your Mom Day. We should just do Your Mom Day tomorrow and we just bombard.
I do Your Mom every day.
Oh, there it is.
I'm sorry, Jeff's mom.
I will have to go back and add in the rim shot sound. Your mom gets a
She's
rim
real
shot.
good. Yeah. Oh, you beat me to it. God damn it.
Your mom beats me to it.
And Dinker, we are very disappointed in you.
Dick.
Very.
Simeon.
Freaking ass monkey.
All right, guys. Hey, that was all fun and good. Yep. Mm-hmm. Later, folks.
Later.